Welcome back, everybody. Just Mike here. Anyway, we have another cuckoo clock to work on, and this one happens to have the musical band at the lower part that moves back and forth. And they look like little Chinese bins, so we're going to get into this clock and take a look at it. So this is my clock. This man here came unglued from his pedestal. But you can see what I mean by they look like little Chinese men. I'd rather have the wood carved ones, but you get what you get. And the price wasn't that bad on this clock, so here we go. This one here, he came undone. I'm not sure what it is that holds these things on there. I'll have to look. But there you go for him. This one's playing a trumpet, and this is playing a French horn, I do believe. And then of course we have the musical or the dancers when the music's playing. Otherwise the clock pretty much looks like it's all there. I will admit this clock doesn't have the weights to it, nor does it have the pendulum, but the pendulum's pretty much easy because of the style of the clock. They do sell pendulums that will match the clock. For a quick measurement on this clock, I'm going to go to the steepest part of the roof, and down we're about 15 inches. And we're about 13 3/4 wide. Let's see if this clock will tick or what it'll do. The chains are kind of messed up on here, but we'll try the best we can. This is the tag that's still left on the door, and I'm going to go ahead and glue this down a little bit better because it's kind of nice having these extra little things that came with the clock. Big gong in there. And as we can see, these here, besides being tangled up in the chain, let's see if we can get it off of there. Now this is an older clock because of the count wheel, so that tells me this here's 1950 or older. This is kind of rusted up. Both bellows are shot. And we'll have to take a look at this to see how that hooks up on there. This one here looks like it'd be operating the bird. So this one might go to the music. Well, I see the chains are off, so we can't test that part, but I think what we'll do is we'll take this out and then we can do a little bit more testing. So what I'm going to have to do is I'll go ahead and pop these bellows out, and I'll take the hands off. And for the bird, I see he's got plastic feet and the lower part's broke on him as usual, so we'll have to deal with that. I don't know if I'm going to stick a new bird in there or try to fix that plastic, which I'll probably try to fix it, but there's no guarantee when it comes to that plastic stuff. So on the hands, the very first thing came off was the decorative nut, as I call it. And then this was another nut that screwed down on the hands. And then we have a square hole here. These are usually kind of difficult, and I'm sure these hands are quite old. And then this is just wedged on so you can twist it back and forth to get it off. Okay, I'll release the bird and we'll go back inside. Very nice bellows for the length of them. They had the screw in, and then they have a nail. And that sounded odd, like it might be was glued in. Nope, no glue, thank goodness. They had 2 nails in here. This is really tight. The movement itself is in the way, actually. So I guess what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the music box off, which would be 2 screws over here, 3 screws. Now this clock does have strings attached to it, so as long as it's not too close to the hour or half hour, you can actually play the music. There's 1 string here with the little pole. There's 1 string here with the little pole. And they don't have them hanging down so far you see it from below, so people won't be pulling on them. But that's what they're meant for. So we got the 3 screws out. Try to... feels like there's another screw underneath here. That's a big old nail there. Let me pull this nail so it'll turn easier. There's our hidden screw. Now this is the music box anyway, August 1974. Which is a little odd. Yes, this box, I'm going to say, let's just say it looks newer because of the type of stain, but the movement doesn't look that way. So there's a chance this could have been replaced. Quite a few combs on here, and that tells that it has some good, so many combs on here that it tells you that this has more value than the ones with about half as many combs. I'm going to set it on this box here, and we're going to play it and see what it sounds like. was one tune. This one has two tunes. So now I'm going to go ahead and unscrew the box. I'm going to take the chains off because some of these are clear up, which is because they fell off. But I'm going to take the chains off and I'm going to untie these rings that trigger the music and trigger the cuckoo. Now I'll try to wiggle this out so that people can get around there. And there we go. Now I'm going to try to fix this bird, obviously. Look how big he is. His wings don't move. But you can see how broke this thing is. I'm going to probably try some super glue and baking soda to get that thing back together again. And this is stiff, so he's quite dirty. So now that I have the movement out, this here's the mechanism that comes out and rocks the people back and forth. I'm going to try to play the music. So here you can see this moving. And the people do go around quite nice. It does feel like a bit of a tug, and that's another reason why I'm going to clean this thing. And this chain is fell off. I don't know if we can get that back on. This one here, I do believe goes to the cuckoo side of it. So the arm does come out. Try to hold this so I'm not holding everything else. You notice how this here is resting on the wheel. That tells me that the bird's not bouncing in and out. See the thick plates? That tells you for sure this is an older movement. And on this movement, I got to check it out. There's a R. Does say made in Germany, and is that Geerkun? Geerkune. I think that's the end of it. Other than that, I see nothing on here for names. It's all usually always on the back plate. So what I'm going to do is look this up and see if I can find something out about this. So this says it was 1973. The music box is 1974. I am just a little bit puzzled because the movement, because of the count wheel, says that this thing's, as far as I know, is last made in 1950. So whether this clock has had this movement put in it, which I don't believe it has, but maybe they've made this clock for quite a while. I don't know. According to this, in 2018, this clock sold for $100. And they estimated it was worth $400 back then. Also, there on the history, it tells you the cuckoo clock of this style first came in fashion in 1950s. And so, and by the looks of it, it calls out on the hour, so evidently not the half hour, and it plays as the dancers spin on the carousel up above there. The Oompah band moves back and forth on the clock, which we already figured that out. I did look this up, and I couldn't see the P, but it's GEERKUNEP with the trademark of R on there. And it's the Oompah band. Doesn't say anything about the dancers, unless it's explaining the clock, I guess, but they didn't really say too much. There's even one site that kind of said it was a Swiss clock, even though this is made in Germany. I have no idea. All I know is they say they started coming out in 1950. That's when they became popular. So I've already taken all my pictures. I took the pictures of the shaft pointing down because that's when I'm going to take it apart. So the first thing I like to do is get the music people off, and by the looks of it, right here is a screw that goes to a gear, and if I can get that off of there, the gear will probably fall down, which is fine. And I need to take off this here keeper. That looks like an E-clip. Now that I have that E-clip off, I should be able to lift this. And they're quite dirty. This should come out when I take the people out. I can take these off and take the people off, and then these should slide out, and I can tell they got drag on them. I need to take that screw off, that screw off, that screw off, and that one off, and this whole piece should come off. So with this off now, it'd be easier to take this off, hold on to it, spin it, and it comes out. So go ahead and take that pin out. There's the two pins on here that connect to this to tell it when to cuckoo. Now this gear looks to be a plastic gear. If I can get it off, underneath it also has a friction washer. I'm not sure that that's a plastic gear. This might be a fiber gear, and so I'm not going to run this into the cleaner because the cleaner is, my understanding, deadly on them. So I'll just wash it. And let's take this system off also. Remove the E-clip. And I have to lift this up, and that screw is going to prevent me from doing that. So I'm going to take this screw off, and I'm going to put it back in its spot. So this is what moves the Oompah players back and forth. Now this will come off. I notice a screw down here. And we'll go ahead and untie the spring to this. It just comes, this goes through the hole, out around the spring is what it's doing. Let's see about taking this off. You notice these are pointing down, and you got to remember that when you put them back on. You can see there's rust on this, so it'll have to be cleaned up. So what's unique about some of these clocks that you work on, you find what they did in order to get the spring action to work. You notice that here it's wrapped around this first, and then they wrapped it around the post, and then they locked it into the frame right here, in which they actually have it on this post here, wrapped up on here. So that's free now from the frame. This here, there's nothing holding it on. And somehow or another it stays in there. So I'm going to, when I take this apart, and put it back together again, I have to make sure this is in place. Here you can see it's also lifting this wire here. So as far as I know, this side's done. This here, we can actually take out the pendulum. Now in behind here is another piece of metal like this side had. Don't know what used to be here, but someone worked on this, which I'm going to guess is a clock shop last, and might have had to make modifications for some reason or another. So this has got a taper pin in here also. Let me get that out of there. Yes, we can. Stuck in there, that kind of tells you it's probably dirty. And here's that washer I was talking about. I don't know if it's stuck on here or what. Yeah, it's just stuck on there. So this side's empty. This side, we'll go ahead and, let's see, can we remove that? Oh, it's on the inside, so we can't really do too much with this until we get the plates apart. This here screw and this piece of metal are holding these two into place. But let's get this one off, and down here is where the spring is tied, we'll say, to keep that sprung. Now that it's off, this should come unlocked and out. The spring is holding me up. And that wire it's bent. Now that bent wire is the part that hits the star wheel, so there's a chance I'm going to have to bend it back down again. We'll see. Oh my. This one's really bent. I think I'm going to just leave that in there because that's a big bend, and that's been one heck of an adjustment to get that right. So we'll leave that in there. What's holding this in is there's a pin in there that's acting like a lock like these were over here. So we'll leave that in. So I think the next thing we'll take off is this here, our count wheel. Now without this count wheel, this thing will only cuckoo one time no matter what, because it acts like this here will drop in and the clock will know, well, I was only supposed to cuckoo once. So I think I'll go ahead and put my legs on here, and we'll try to take this apart carefully so we can get a picture of all the gears where they're setting now. They all have a crack in their lower half, but there's only one way to get these off. I don't want to damage that gear, and normally, there we go. As you can see the crack there. And then each one of these have an E-clip on them to get this whole shaft out so they can be cleaned also. Now I do know the winder on this side is going to come up. This here, if I get too carried away, has a screw on it, so I should be able to get it off. Trying to keep this whole thing together in there. There we go. Totally filthy in there. Winders feel good. So let me put this back together again. We'll get a picture of this and take it apart and see if we can get it back together again the way we took it out. Well, a little bit better than the way we took it out. We'll call that good. These are spring loaded onto there. So I've noticed some of these, such as this one here, for example. Let's take this out. It's got a hole in there. That hole goes over that pin. This is the cuckoo bird side. There's the warning pin. And this is the lever of where this lever will drop in or whatever and stop it from cuckooing when it's time. This here will be the time side. The time train, as they call it, full of dust and dirt. So it's been a while since this clock's been cleaned. So fuzz, dirt, whatever's on the end of that with the oil. That feels good. I love these type of clickers. They have a richer tone. Not that you're doing it that long, but a richer tone of winding them. And so this is the music side, and obviously there's no music in here. It has a gear that attaches in order to operate. There's what's spinning the governor or the fan. Another warning pin. And a shut-off area. You can see the oil has been pouring down here. That's why it's black and whatnot. So it kind of had a little bit too much oil. But too much oil, in so many words, is better than no oil at all. The problem is oil will also collect the dust. And on a cuckoo clock, that's not the greatest because the dust clings to the oil. So let me get all this into the cleaner and get her cleaned up. And I'm not as worried about it, I guess I'll say. I am not going to take this bracket off, even though it just takes one screw to do it. And there's a taper pin right there too. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and loosen this here. This here's a nut on there. Let's see if it'll turn. Don't like it. Screwing this down, that's your adjustment for the fan so it's not too loose. The reason why I'm, let's say, taking it out is so it can clean inside there as well. And so I'm going to leave it flap around like that. I could take this E-clip off and disconnect it all, but I just want the major stuff taken out. Or the old oil that's hanging around here. I took the screw out for this, and the main reason why is because this won't fit in my basket and get clear down. Oh, that's a little screw, a really tiny screw. That wasn't a tiny screw as the pin. We got it off now. Now I can get this down in my basket. And like I said, I could take this apart, but I'm not gonna. Yes, I get a coffee break every once in a while. So I got it together. I will admit, this one, I forgot exactly how it went in, and I couldn't tell by the pictures because it was a little dirty, but I was able to see the wire coming across here. And thank goodness I'm mechanically inclined, I guess we'll put it that way, because trying to figure this out was amazing as far as I'm concerned. This wire here is the trigger for this side, and this wire down below is the one that the cuckoo bird would trigger, and what it does, it cocks that wire up, this one right here, and this is on hold until it's done cuckooing. I don't know if I can show this to you or not. I will try. Well, it helps if I have it in the picture. If I hit it again. I'm a bad cameraman. Here we go again. A bit flicked over it. There we go. So hopefully I got her. Before I put any more on here, I'm going to oil all my pivots so I don't get them covered up. I didn't know this is there. Teeny little ball bearing was down inside, let's call it this cup, that would ride on this divot here. Let's see if I can get it in there without losing it again. I almost washed this down the sink. There it goes. Now I can screw this back up in. I was wondering why I was screwing it in so far. You want it too tight, you want it just loose enough it works. They're really nasty. They came pretty clean. I used a toothbrush and the Murphy's soap, was it soap oil I think they call it, for wood finish floors and that kind of stuff. These came out really nice. They had the old age of possibly smoking in the house, grease from cooking and everything else, and I'm gonna still say this clock more than likely is older than 1950. I think it was the early 40s, but I'm terrible when it comes to looking things up on the internet. These, according to the best I found, that these became popular, the Oompah players, in the 50s, but I'm sure these were made before then. Anyway, all four of these came out good. I finally figured out this, where they set on a peg, there's a taper pin that sets in there to lock the mechanism in, and these set over that taper pin so they don't spin around willy-nilly. They'll always stay going back and forth. So these tops were off the whistle boxes, and the best I can figure, blowing on them, high note, low note. So I'm going to guess, because of where the lift arm wire would push this up, this is going to be straight across for the bird. And they're together like this, so this would be the lift arm for this one. So I'm using Tyvek paper on this because that's what I have. I don't have leather, and if I did have leather, this is one clock that would be worthy of putting leather on. Besides, because of the size of the whistle box, also because of the type of clock it is. So I got the whistle boxes rebuilt, put my wires on to hold them shut, because they need to form down to know where they're supposed to be. So even after explaining where this one went, I put it on the wrong one, so now I have to move this wire over to that one. This is supposed to be that one. That one's supposed to be this one, the wire. Well, I went ahead and waxed the case the best I could. Looks a lot better now, and cleaner, of course. And I do believe I'm ready to put the movement back in here. And I also glued this with super glue. We'll see if it works. And I also used baking soda to try to build it up better and stronger. But remember, don't put these on so tight. You just have to snug it up in order for the wire lift the bird, in order for him to open and close his mouth. Now these weights aren't right. I don't have heavier ones. It looks like I need a 480 or something like that. But let me trig this. I was slightly pulling on the weight. So I got the clock done. Everything's cleaned up, waxed and whatnot. I didn't wax these guys, I just cleaned them. Anyway, I need a bigger weight than what I have here already, but I'm going to pull on it so it sounds better. And I can't adjust this because it was a heavier rod in there. There's a, with the weight I got. So there I got the Oompah clock done, and it has the dancers like I said, and the cuckoo bird. Haven't seen one with all those gadgets all together, and it is a nice size clock and does sound nice. I do have to get a heavier weight, got to experiment, but I think I have to see if they have such things as a 480. I have some other weights, I don't know where they're at the moment, and I have to try them, but right now it does cuckoo, it does tick, and the music does play, but the cuckoo and the playing is really slow. Anyway, we got her done. Don't forget to subscribe because it's free. Give me a thumbs up if you appreciated this video, and until next time, God bless.